The Awakening. The crystalline spires of the Xeraxian High Council gleamed against the triple moons of Centauri Prime, their surface reflecting countless stars like mirrors to infinity. Commander Elena Drake stood before the towering gates, her diplomatic uniform crisp despite the lengthy journey from Earth. The Galactic Assembly had sent her to investigate why the Xeraxians, humanity's supposed mentors for the past century, had suddenly begun restricting access to their ancient archives. Admiral Chorus, a being of pure crystal and light, floated down to meet her. His translucent form pulsed with bands of blue energy, a sign of carefully controlled anxiety that Elena had learned to read during her years of diplomatic service. Commander Drake, Chorus's voice resonated like wine through crystal caves. Your presence here is unexpected. The archives are closed for necessary maintenance. Elena maintained her diplomatic smile, though her dark eyes hardened. Interesting. Especially since our quantum physicists detected massive data transfers from the archive's quantum cores just hours before the shutdown. Data about Earth's pre-contact history. The light patterns within Chorus's crystalline form froze for a microsecond, a Xeraxian tel equivalent to a human's sharp intake of breath. Your scientists must be mistaken. Perhaps their instruments need calibration. Our instruments are fine, Admiral. They were built using Xeraxian specifications, after all. Elena took a step forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper. What I find more interesting is that the data transfer occurred exactly when Dr. Marcus Chen activated our first successful quantum consciousness amplifier. The temperature in the chamber dropped several degrees as Chorus's form dimmed. That project was advised against. The human mind is not ready for such advancement. So you've said, for the past 100 years. Along with warnings against genetic engineering, psychic development, and a dozen other fields. Always with the same explanation, that humanity needs time to mature. Elena pulled out a small holographic projector, displaying a document that shimmered with ancient Xeraxian script. Until I found this in our own archives. A document so old it predated your translation protocols. Fortunately, we've learned your language better than you think. Chorus's crystalline form crackled with crimson energy. Where did you get that? It doesn't matter. What matters is what it says, that humanity was never meant to be guided. We were meant to be contained. Elena's voice carried steel beneath its diplomatic smoothness. Because we're the only species whose consciousness can't be controlled by crystalline resonance. The only species naturally immune to Xeraxian influence. The chamber erupted in blinding light as Chorus expanded his form, towers of crystal sprouting around Elena like a cage. But she didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled and touched the small quantum device at her temple, a prototype of Dr. Chen's design. The crystalline structure shattered, not from any physical force, but from the pure focused will emanating from Elena's mind. Chorus recoiled, his form contracting in shock. Impossible, he whispered. The suppression field has been active around Earth for 10,000 years. Elena finished. We found those generators too. They're being dismantled as we speak. Humanity is waking up, Admiral. The question is, will the Xeraxian High Council accept us as equals, or will you force us to demonstrate just how powerful an awakened human consciousness can be? Around them, the archive's quantum cores hummed to life, responding not to Xeraxian crystal technology, but to the untapped potential of a human mind finally free from millennia of artificial constraints. As information flooded into her consciousness, Elena saw the truth: humanity had never needed guidance. They had needed freedom. The age of Xeraxian dominion was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin. Hidden powers. In the depths of Luna Base Prime, Dr. Marcus Chen watched the holographic display with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The quantum consciousness readings from across Earth pulsed like a living constellation, each point of light representing a human mind slowly awakening to its true potential. The dismantling of the Xeraxian suppression field had triggered a cascade effect none of them had anticipated. The neural activity is off the charts, his colleague Dr. Zara Patel announced, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. It's as if our brains were operating at 10% capacity before, and now. She trailed off, watching as another cluster of lights bloomed across the eastern hemisphere. Marcus nodded, understanding her speechlessness. The data streaming in from global monitoring stations told a story that seemed impossible just weeks ago. Humans across the planet were spontaneously developing abilities that defied conventional science: enhanced cognitive processing, telepathic communication, even matter manipulation at the quantum level. The quantum comm crackled to life, projecting Commander Elena Drake's image into the laboratory. Her avatar showed signs of strain, but her voice remained steady. Dr. Chen, the Zeraxian High Council is in chaos. We've confirmed what the ancient record suggested: their entire civilization is built on crystalline consciousness technology. The fact that they can't influence human minds makes us the biggest threat they've ever encountered, Marcus finished. Commander, the neural awakening is spreading faster than we predicted. We're seeing exponential growth in cognitive capabilities. A new figure materialized in the quantum projection: Fleet Admiral James Harrison, his weathered face grave. Then we need to move quickly. The Zeraxian defense fleet is mobilizing near Saturn. They're calling it a containment action to prevent human instability from threatening galactic peace. Zara pulled up another display, this one showing the quantum signature of the approaching Zeraxian vessels. Their ships are basically giant crystalline consciousness amplifiers. They're probably planning to try to overwhelm us with concentrated psychic energy. Which won't work, Elena added, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. But they don't know that we know that. More importantly, they don't know what we can do now. Marcus touched the quantum interface, bringing up his latest analysis. The suppression field didn't just limit our cognitive abilities. It prevented us from accessing quantum fields that the human brain naturally interfaces with. We're not just immune to their control, we can actively manipulate the same quantum fields their entire civilization is built on. And now we have proof of why they did it, Zara interjected, transmitting a decoded file from the ancient archives. Early human civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria weren't myths. They were advanced quantum civilizations that the Zeraxians encountered and feared. So they implemented the suppression field and erased our history, letting us develop along more conventional lines they could monitor. Admiral Harrison's expression hardened. How many ships in their containment fleet? 300 crystalline dreadnoughts, Elena reported. But numbers aren't what matters here. Admiral, I've seen inside their archives. The Zeraxians have dominated the galaxy for millennia because no other species can resist their crystalline consciousness control. They've never had to develop conventional military technology or strategy. They've never faced a real fight. And we've done nothing but fight, Harrison mused. First against ourselves, then against our limitations, and now. He straightened, decision made. Dr. Chen, how many humans have fully awakened to these new abilities? Marcus checked the latest data. Conservative estimate? 20 million and growing. Within a week, it could be billions. They tried to keep us dormant because they feared what we could become, Elena said softly. And in doing so, they forced us to develop strength, resilience, and innovation in ways they never had to. The very qualities we'll need now. The quantum interface suddenly pulsed with new data as the Zeraxian fleet began accelerating toward Earth. But instead of fear, Marcus felt a strange calm. Humanity had spent its entire history unknowingly fighting against artificial limitations. Now those limitations were gone, and the universe was about to discover exactly what humanity could do when nothing held them back. In the holographic display, another million points of light flared to life as more human minds awakened to their true potential. The hidden powers of humanity were hidden no more, and the galaxy would never be the same. Rising storm. The void between Saturn and Jupiter erupted with crystalline light as the Zeraxian containment fleet pushed their engines to maximum power. On the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Prometheus, Admiral Harrison watched the tactical display with Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel, Zara's brother and Earth's foremost expert on Zeraxian technology. "Their formation is perfect," Raj observed, his fingers tracing the holographic patterns. "Too perfect. Like a crystalline lattice structure. They've never needed to adapt their tactics because no one could resist their psychic control." Harrison nodded, his expression grim but determined. "And that's their weakness. They think in rigid patterns, absolute structures. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest strength is our ability to shatter expectations." The quantum comm lit up with Dr. Chen's transmission from Luna Base. "Admiral, we've finished analyzing their ship configurations. Each vessel is essentially a giant crystal consciousness amplifier, but they have minimal conventional shielding. They've never needed it before. Because they could just mentally compel any attackers to turn away," Raj finished. "Their entire defensive doctrine is based on abilities that don't work on us." "But Admiral, our fleet is outnumbered 10-1. Harrison smiled. "Numbers don't tell the whole story, Lieutenant Commander." "Elena, are your teams in position?" Commander Drake's image appeared in the tactical display. She stood in a massive chamber filled with newly awakened quantum-sensitive humans. "Ready, Admiral. 200,000 awakened minds, all linked through the quantum consciousness network. We're about to show the Zeraxians that humanity's been holding back far more than they realized." The Zeraxian fleet suddenly halted, their crystalline ships forming a vast geometric pattern that turned space itself into a lens for their psychic energy. A wave of pure mental force washed over the solar system, powerful enough to subjugate an entire species. It passed through the human fleet without effect. "They're trying to reactivate the suppression field," Dr. Chen reported, his voice tight with concentration. "But they don't understand, we're not just resistant to their power. We can turn it against them." Elena's voice rang with authority. "All quantum consciousness teams, execute Operation Mirror." Across the solar system, the awakened humans focused their newly unleashed abilities. They didn't try to attack the Zeraxian fleet directly. Instead, they reached into the quantum fields that both species could access and began to alter the fundamental patterns the Zeraxians relied on. The perfect crystalline formation of the alien fleet began to waver as their ship's quantum matrices experienced something they'd never encountered: chaos, introduced with surgical precision by human minds that understood both order and entropy. "Their ships are built on perfect mathematical harmony," Raj explained, watching the tactical display with fascination. "By introducing controlled disorder into their quantum fields, we're disrupting their ability to maintain coherent form." The first Zeraxian dreadnought shattered, its crystalline structure failing as quantum chaos overwhelmed its rigid patterns. Others followed, not destroyed but transformed into clouds of crystalline shards that could no longer maintain their technological functions. "This isn't just about defeating them," Elena transmitted from her quantum control center. "We're showing them something their species has never understood, that true strength comes from embracing both order and chaos, structure and freedom." Admiral Harrison watched as the mighty Zeraxian fleet began to retreat, their perfect formations dissolving into desperate randomness. They thought they were containing a threat. Instead, they're witnessing an evolution. Humanity isn't just breaking free of their control, we're demonstrating a way of existing they never imagined possible. "Admiral," Dr. Chen's voice carried urgency. "We're detecting massive quantum disturbances from the direction of Centauri Prime. The Zeraxian homeworld. I think what we've done here has triggered something. The awakening isn't just spreading through humanity anymore. Through the quantum network that now connected humanity's awakened minds, they could all sense it, a transformation beginning in the rigid crystalline thoughts of the Zeraxians themselves. Their defeat wasn't just military, it was paradigmatic. The species that had suppressed humanity's potential for millennia was being forced to confront the limitations of their own existence. The storm humanity had unleashed wasn't just changing the balance of power in the galaxy. It was reshaping the very nature of consciousness itself, and not even the ancient Zaraxians could resist the tide of evolution any longer.